eggs along the way on that pick situation, I think.
But it's under pressure of that's when you create diamonds, though, Maniac. Under the most pressure. So who knows? It can still turn your way. It's not over yet. It's not over for anybody yet.
Any highlights, gentlemen, from day one, Maui? Was there a particular match that piqued your interest?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I like kind of a sleeper game. I like this Spirit heroic nuke game, actually. I really didn't know if I believed in Spirit yet, but after seeing that performance, I'm on board. I think they play good Counter-Strike. I think they're actually one of the most prepared teams here, and it's been a shocker for, I think, most of the Counter-Strike scene to see this.
Yeah, and it changes the whole dialogue about Heroic as well. Remember, that's how we was describing them. It's a team that in the group stage, or the Legend stage as it is right now, is horrifying to play against. They always hit the ground running full 100%, and actually they fell flat. Only 2 rounds on that second half. So it changes a little bit the way I look at Heroic and Spirit, because they definitely delivered.
Yeah, and potentially, going 3-0 in the first stage of Legends as well. Anything for you, Maniac? Anything that really stood out to you from day one?
Well, at least, aside from a match specific, it's just the fact that in the teams that can make it to the Legends stage right now, we have Spirit, Flames, NaVi, and NiP. These aren't exactly all the teams that I would have mentioned. NaVi would probably have been in here if you'd asked me at the very beginning of this competition. But NiP, the way they dispatched of Cloud9 on Inferno at that was a very strange game, very back and forth, a little bit too passive maybe on the side of Cloud9. We'll touch on it a little bit later. But a lot of surprises. Not necessarily the team that I would have expected to be 1 game away from a playoff at the major.
Yeah, and I think their opening match in terms of NiP, I think I was proved wrong tremendously. Esatag showed up fantastically in map number 1. He didn't have the best game against Cloud9, if I'm being more well-rounded with this statement, but I will say that he fit the system pretty well. The support that he was giving to teammates, stuff like that. I mean, it's that he can elevate the people around him, and even if he isn't putting the numbers on the board every single time, it's clear that he's setting up people with flashes, just having and covering people's backs. Like, those kind of moments are invaluable when you have a teammate that maybe you're not going to put the most resources into. It's that he's actually putting stuff into his teammates.
Well, let's take a look at exactly what is on the cards today. Of course, we're heading into another day of Counter-Strike action with qualification and, unfortunately for some teams, elimination on the line. That's going to be going down on the B stream side of things. We're going to be focusing on the qualification games here on the A stream. I do want to start off by talking about some of those 1-1 games, just touching upon those on the B stream. We're going to be seeing Ence taking on Outsiders and Big taking on Furia. I think maybe the most surprising for me in that 1-1 situation might have been Furia, just in the fashion that they started things off. But I don't think there's too many surprises in that category yet, Maniac.
No, there aren't that many surprises, but I will say that Ence is not in an easy position. Remember, they came in here as a dark pick or dark horse pick for a lot of people, being poised for a deep run at the major, and now you find yourself being shell-shocked by Copenhagen Flames, something that we hadn't really seen come in. You're 1-1 and you go up against Outsiders. And Outsiders, out of the teams that you could play in this major, I feel like is one of the most uncomfortable. They will never lay down, they'll never give up, never admit defeat. You have to fight until the very last 16th round, and it's not going to be an easy game for Ence.
It's so scary to play against a team like Outsiders. But for the other one, Big versus Furia, I think both of those teams started out pretty well. But I think that Furia also just feeling the wrath of Spirit. I mean, the thing is that everybody seems to be getting caught off guard by this Spirit team, and that's what sent Furia into that position. And I'm not really sure, because Big and Furia are teams that I both have been liking lately. I think they both have been progressing very well. So I think that's a really nice litmus test to see just how far has that progress gone for them.
And of course, we do have the elimination games going down on the B stream as well. B&E versus Imperial, probably the least surprising 0-2 match. I feel like they were the 2 teams that were in most people's pick'ems to potentially be going that 0-3. But it is kind of heartbreaking if you look at it from a narrative perspective. You've got The Last Dance, a Cinderella story. One of these 2 teams will be going home.
It is heartbreaking because, again, we can circle back to that first game against Flames for B&E, which I think they definitely had space. They definitely had an opportunity to go 1-0, but sometimes that's what the major is about. You misplay a couple of rounds and you find yourself in a very, very devastating situation. Going up against Imperial, of course, a few people out there would have put them in that position. But actually, if you look at how they played Counter-Strike, they haven't played a bad game. They put G2 a run for the money in that game as well. This is not going to be easy for the Bad News Eagle, and between, I guess, the wrath of the youth and the experience, I'm not exactly sure where I'm siding.
The clock has to strike midnight for every Cinderella story, and I think that's going to be the case for B&E. I thought Imperial was going to be it was my 0-3 pick, but I'm actually liking just how solid they're playing. They seem to have really good fundamentals in terms of teamwork, which is something you would expect from a team that is full of major champions.
You have experience in there?
Yeah, exactly. So B&E, they just need to tighten things up a lot. I think that's the main story, but I actually just for their sake, I like to see where they're going after the major. I think both of these teams have just new heights to reach, and this was a great launch pad for both of them in terms of building confidence for whatever later competitions may come their way.
Somebody that is a surprise, unfortunately, to see in that elimination matchup, Vitality and Liquid. Vitality had an incredibly cold start in day one of the Challenger stage. Just going back to that matchup against NIP, I don't think any of us, I mean, we didn't expect it to go to overpass for one, but the fact that they just got absolutely dismantled it in that fashion, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah, these are the signs that are worrying, honestly. If you're Vitality, it's beyond just being O2, which obviously is not the position you want to be in, but it's the vibes that they were getting off. It's what we were seeing. It's what we were feeling. Yeah. Looking at Vitality play Counter-Strike felt very hollow, very empty, and not a lot of soul into that game as well. You could see Apex very dejected after the first day. And of course, they can pull it back. Of course, they have the quality for it. But the Vitality that we have seen on day one doesn't make it to the playoffs of the major. There is absolutely no way. There needs to be a reaction.
Yeah, and I think that Vitality right now are in a position where it just hasn't gone as smoothly as they all thought it would. I think that surprisingly, the management team of Vitality put it best that this wasn't a project that they immediately thought was going to win championships. And I think a lot of people, including myself, were like, oh, he's just being nice. But I think he actually had good recognition in those moments to see that this is going to be a more long-term project. And Vitality, maybe in 5 months' time, is going to be competing for a major. But right now, it's really tough to believe.
You know, I agree with you, but somehow I feel like when you put these players together, at least when you put Apex Saiwo with the core of Dupree and Magisk, I feel like we are expecting better results from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like, I understand, I comprehend the idea that this is a complete overhaul of the philosophy of the Counter-Strike you want to play, and this is a change of scenario for Apex. I acknowledge that. But still, with the qualities that are on board, we should expect more. We should see more from the very beginning, at least not just disappearing away from day one of the major. Put up a fight, have individuals step up, do something, try something with your heart and soul, even if your playbook is not perfect. So it has been a little bit too empty for my liking.
I think just touching on Liquid very briefly in this matchup as well, the fact that we've already seen them in this position in the Challenger stage, they did manage to make that absolute haul back. But now the question is, you know, we're saying that Vitality aren't as hot as we were hoping them to be, but this is probably one of the tougher teams that Liquid have faced thus far at the major, including that Challenger stage. So I'm wondering whether they do kind of have the balls to be pulling it over the line.
I actually think that Liquid are in a position where the two teams they faced off in the BO1s were tougher. I think that Heroic and Furia, in my eyes, coming into this tournament, were stronger opposition than Vitality. Yeah. So I think Liquid are... The scary thing is that you feel like you have a little bit of breathing room. Vitality is performing worse. They're in worse form than the two former teams I just mentioned. But they still have ZywOo, and it's just so hard to game plan against this guy because he can always just find so many opportunities, and he's always going to be good for a couple clutches in a game. And when you're against the players with so much experience, it's tough for a player, in my eyes, like OC, to perform as well. This is going to be one of his first huge pressure moments at the major in an elimination match. That's where I want to see his nerves tested the most.
Yeah, and also I think it's going to be a stress test for the map pool of both these teams. Something we sometimes forget to mention is that both teams have obvious issues in the map pool, and now we're getting to the best of three. And this is where, honestly, I could see this go 3 maps. I think both teams can punish each other, force a third map, and then this is where the nerves kick in. This is where you actually show what you're made of, how you react in that ever so famous 0-2 game.
Well, let's remove the rain clouds and get a little bit of sunshine, as we do have the qualification games going down on the A-stream side of things as well. The last game that we're going to be seeing playing out, NaVi taking on NIP. I'm so excited the fact that NaVi have made it through 2-0 thus far in the best of ones. NIP as well, we were kind of prefacing it earlier. Big surprise to see them in this position, Maniac.
Yes, it is. Look, we both had eggs on our face after game 1. And I thought I was trying to, I guess, find my way out of that one, logically speaking, but then they turned things around against Cloud9 again, making their position very legitimate, extremely legitimate. We talked about Rez, we had a back and forth about him, by far the best player by the numbers of day 1, 1.48. He has a 1.61 impact rating. It's just massive. Right behind is Brolin, obviously Jackknife being able to do many different roles and many different things in an IP, and when S-Tag is not liability, as it was on day 1, then the whole thing kind of changed, the whole team's changed.
The whole narrative for NIP has stopped on a dime, turned around, and just went the complete other direction. For me, this was a team that I thought had very little chance of making it through. Yeah. I didn't like what I was seeing from them in prior events, in the RMR even. I feel like they just barely made it through in my eyes in terms of the quality of the victories. But what they were able to accomplish yesterday was... it was nothing short of incredible, and it was a huge shocker at that. I think that Rez is performing so well. It feels like this guy has such a renewed purpose in the game right now, and I can't stop actually enjoying what I'm seeing, because it feels like anything you see him do, you want to see more other just strong riflers pull these kinds of playoffs. The one-way smokes, the boosts, all of that stuff is just consistently fascinating, because he felt so one-dimensional a couple years ago, and now it's just like, wow, you built out your playbook really well.
And it's also the fact that NIP had two very different games moving into this, right? They had the very easy going against Vitality, where you just feel like all the stars are aligning. SynTV is having an incredible performance on Overpass, and you could technically write that off. You could say this is not replicable, this is not going to happen again. But again, the game against Cloud9 is completely different. It's a hard-fought battle. It's a 13-13, 14-14. It's solution figuring on the fly. It's Hampus coming in with ideas. So to me, that speaks volume to what they're capable of doing. It's not just running high with the flow. No, also they could fight dirty against Cloud9 and they made it work.
Yeah, I think Chad put it perfectly. That was an absolute tug of war, as was that NaVi G2 matchup. When we were going out for dinner, Maui, we saw a Simple outside, and he was looking at me saying, Freya, you predicted G2 in that matchup. What were you thinking? But that was an incredibly close affair. Unfortunately, that does leave G2 in that 1-1 category. But just speaking about Na'Vi and what we've seen of them looking really, really hot coming in, sort of, we were talking about the narrative of that game, Maui, and I feel like you were saying the context of that was seeing Simple get hotter and hotter and hotter throughout that map.
Exactly. It was tough to really find one kind of macro idea for that game, but in all honesty, I think that Na'Vi just rode Simple into the sunset on that one, because his clutches just were out of this world. I mean, Maniac, you put it so well yesterday when you were breaking down that clutch that he pulled off, the 2v4. Those kind of moments were so, like, those are reminders that this is the greatest player on the planet. And for him to actually come into this tournament with that form, this guy is on a 31 map streak of having above a 1.0 rating.
Of course he does.
It's the best in his career right now. He's in the best form he has ever been in terms of consistency. That's what Na'Vi needs if they want to have another shot at a title.
Yeah, I also have to praise Bit. I feel like we put him under a lot of scrutiny at the beginning of this major, saying that he had been slowing down in 2022. He's been delivering like a madman so far in the tournament. That game versus G2 is a very harsh reminder to everyone out there that the hardest rounds to win against Na'Vi are the 15th and the 16th. That's how it is. You can get to 14. People have gotten to 14 against Na'Vi many, many times, but suddenly they just tighten the ship. They don't make mistakes anymore. They take all the clutches away from you, and these last two rounds are ever so hard to get.
I mean, the biggest surprise factor going into our other qualification game, the fact that it is Copenhagen Flames taking on Spirit. One of these two teams guaranteed to be making it to the major playoffs. We will be lying if we said anybody expected these teams to be going through 3-0, or at least one of them.
No, you're absolutely correct, but I want to put a caveat on that game, and it might sound a little bit, I guess, weird for me to say that, but for both these teams, their situation currently is amazing. You are 2-0 in the Legend stage, you are one game away from qualifying, but I believe that in both occasions, this might be the best shot at qualifying that they will have. The loser of that game could potentially not make it when you look at the quality of the rest of the batch. Think about forZe during the Challenger stage. We had that same conversation. 2-0 against Vitality, that's amazing. They didn't make it through. It's a golden opportunity that you cannot miss if you're Spirit or the Flames.
I would not be surprised at all if the loser of that BO3 doesn't make it through, actually. Yeah. I think that this competition is so stiff right now that every BO3 after that they're going to have to play against the 2-1 teams, the 2-2 teams, those aren't going to be favors for them either. The other teams coming in maybe took a little bit to ramp up on day one, but honestly, I mean, Spirit, they could go the route of forZe. Copenhagen Flames, they can repeat what they did last time around, not just barely not make it. Those kind of things, like, this is such a golden opportunity for the Maniac.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how that does progress today. Of course, on the A stream side of things, we're going to be beginning off with our 1-1 matches. Still some best of ones. The second match is going to be Cloud9 taking on FaZe. This is a spicy one. I know, Maniac, you were bringing up kind of the context and the history between these two teams. FaZe have had Cloud9's number more often than not.
Yeah, it's a fantastic matchup, honestly, and one that is taking a very important place in Counter-Strike's recent history, and for good reasons, right? I think there is a mind game in that specific matchup between nafany and Kerrigan that is a sight to behold. It is something quite unique currently, because by every account, I think Kerrigan has nafany's number figured out. He beat them. He beat Gambit at the time, Cloud9 now, in so many important moments. The IM Katowice, the return to LAN in Cologne. That man, he knew how to play against Cloud9 x Gambit now, and I feel like I don't know what's going to be needed for nafany to get out of the clutches of Kerrigan, because he's got him.
Yeah, he really does seem to have his number. It's so tough to read what is going through the minds of nafany and Karrigan when they go in these kind of duels. But the thing is that the history is there. The precedent has been set. It's now up to Cloud9 to try to subvert expectations and try to actually build upon what has been going wrong every single time. Changing up their playbook seems very hard for Cloud9. They love their style, but it feels like against this FaZe Clan, they have to do something different. I can't see them just keep going with the same approach over and over again because Karrigan seems to have figured it out.
And I'm really liking some of the duels, or maybe comparisons more aptly to say, between some of the players on this roster. We got, Shiro versus Brokey, Axel versus Rops coming into this. I think these are going to be really, really two well-matched teams going up against each other. I'm so excited to see how it
No, you're completely right. And look, if you go back to 2021, both Shiro and Axel belonged to the best players in the world. Yes. Absolute best players in the world. In fact, Gambit have, 3 players in top 6 players in the world, which is absolutely massive. But yes, if today you ask me what player is going to show up in a playoff match, what player is going to show up at the major, I might just give the edge to Robs. I might just give the edge to Brokey. They've given us more insurances that backs against the wall when it matters the most, they'll deliver their best Counter-Strike. And this is the sentence we have to resume it for Exile and Shiro. If you can tell me that they will show up, do their best Counter-Strike, then sky is the limit for Cloud9, but we haven't seen it quite yet.
Well, the first matchup of the day is going to be Heroic taking on G2. And I want to bring up a little quote that we heard from Cadian. He was saying, he wants to make it deeper than that run in Stockholm. And this was a squad that stopped them making it to that grand final back at the previous major. So I feel like this is going to be a grudge match, even though it is a best of one coming into things.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of history between both of these rosters. Right now, the way I pit these two against each other is that I actually think that Heroic just kind of got surprised yesterday a little bit. I don't actually think that they're in this 1-1 position because they are, in my eyes, a 1-1 team. I thought this was a team that could have been one of the 3-0s here. I think they're in incredibly strong form. G2, on the other hand, I mean, their losses to NaVi, so you really can't count them out either. But the thing is that Heroic, they are so comfortable with their style. They've kept the same roster now for such a long time since the previous major, and the hurdle that they have been constantly trying to overcome comes in the playoffs. In the studio, they're fantastic. This is their playground. I'm very confident in Heroic here. Maniac.
I agree with you, but I still believe that for them to beat G2 very convincingly here will also be redefining the limits that we draw for Heroic, that we draw for this squad. Yes, in group stage, they're great, but they don't always face the best of the best. I think the victory against NaVi, if anything, during the RMR was a key moment for them. And we talked to Cadian and we heard about it, and he said, listen, I think I figured it out. I think I know how to face them. I think I know how to bring the best. These are great words, amazing words. Now they have an opportunity to showcase that's the case. You beat G2, you make it convincing, and you move on to 2 more.
I mean, speaking of Cadian, highest rated player for Heroic thus far in the tournament, Maniac.
Yeah, and he said himself in an interview, which I thought was very self-critiquing, but also correct, that he has to step up on LAN. If you were watching Heroic, if you were watching the moments where they pierced through the skies of Counter-Strike, they established themselves at the top, Cadian was a force to be reckoned with online. He was extremely, extremely fast and volatile and versatile. Hasn't exactly always delivered on LAN. He's aware of it. The Cadian we've seen on day 1, if it can be maintained, that is also a new dialogue for Heroic.
The only thing I'm worried about with Cadian improving his individual form is, does the calling fall when he tries to improve? Because against Spirit, they couldn't get anything done on that T side. And I really want to know, is he not spending as much time in terms of examining the macro play of his team in terms of, or in spite of just the fact that he's improving his individual ability? But I will say that something I love about Heroic right now is that I feel like they could have 3 stars. If Cadian can deliver the performances, then Stown, Tessis, the way he played also in the opening map against Liquid, that kind of stuff, it goes so much further sometimes than even putting together some better macro elements for the team.
Yeah, I was going to ask you your opinion about it. Don't you think that at times, if you look at Heroic's run on lands, Cadian individual limits was sometimes the final hurdle for Heroic, right? So there has to be a trade-off here where he can sometimes maybe let the foot off the gas pedal, tactically speaking, and just focus a little bit more. But then you have to have someone come in and help, right? Help during the game, finding out solutions.
If you look at just the history of Cadian's elimination games on LAN, the amount of games that are bad, it's about over half of his elimination games, he just has completely red ratings. It doesn't look very pretty for him as an individual, but if he is improving that, I really do think that this team is just so much stronger, because I think they have such great foundational elements in terms of their strategy, in terms of the structure, that they can just work with what they've got and just improve on those individuals.
And what we've seen from G2 so far is kind of a classic G2 style, I must say. Close loss against NaVi on that Mirage, a close win versus Imperial as well. So kind of key takeaways, a temperature check for G2 thus far. farming?
G2 don't make it easy for themselves. Like you said, that's the G2 signature move. I guess m0NESY showing up is a huge positive sign if you're a G2 fan all across the globe, because his performance is one that we keep an eye on very, very closely. I don't think the Kovacs have delivered quite yet what we can expect from them. I think both niko and Hunter have more in the tank that we have seen so far, but Maui put it eloquently. The fact that they played against NaVi forced us to take these with a bit of salt.
The fact that, yeah, again, another team that feels like should be, or was coming into this tournament with the form that they could have been a 2-0. That's why this matchup is really so strong in terms of 1-1 BO1s. Like, this is so scary for both of these teams that they can fall down to the 1-2 position.
Yeah, here we have just a little bit of a graph talking about the entry fragging situation on G2, and I think that's one we can keep an eye on in this game. There are two names that we have to keep in mind. It's niko and it's m0NESY, and they do it in a different way. For m0NESY, so far in day one, he didn't attempt much, 15%, but he had 88% success rate. What it basically means is almost every single time he attempted to get the entry, he did it. That is great for niko. It's the other way around. More attempt, he's more out there, he's putting his life on the line, and he makes it 55%. So these two, to me, they're going to decide the shape of the entry fragging department.
Yeah, I do really like that we've seen, you know, the narrative, or we've been following the narrative rather, of m0NESY making it onto these land stages, seeing if he can step up. And thus far, he has been delivering. We can see the map pick and bans rolling out on our screen. Of course, this is a best of one, and it is going to be falling down to the final map of Vertigo. Any surprises here?
I don't know about you. I am relatively surprised to see G2 allow Vertigo to be the one map they have to play in bestly, but did they really have any other places to go to?
I don't think they had anywhere else to go, frankly.
That's the thing.
I did put this down as the map that I thought was likely, but I thought it was going to be to the chagrin of G2. They didn't love where this veto was going, because Heroic's map pool is devastating. They have one of the best in the scene, and it's because they've had so much roster consistency that they've developed their playbook so much so, and that's kind of why I have to give the edge to Heroic in this game, actually. I think that Vertigo is a map that they are much more comfortable on, but I will say, when I talked to niko before about m0NESY on Vertigo, it is a map that he's always been good at. He's been playing this one basically since its inception, and because of that, he has seriously found out so many ways to be active, whereas that's something I'm usually critical of m0NESY. On maps like Nuke, where it's a little more tactical, where he has to move around a lot, he has some trouble getting involved, but Vertigo, that's one where he can find those openers that we were talking about earlier.
Well, we're going to see exactly how it does go down, and if m0NESY can be the difference maker for the side of G2. We're jumping into Vertigo with Vince and Blair.
It is time to find out which of these two teams moves to the 2-1 and which already will be posted up with 2 losses. It's been a roller coaster, an up and down affair so far on the Legend stage, Blair. A lot of strange results, a lot of crazy twists and turns, but here we are.
Yeah, quite a number of pick'ems getting ruined just on day one of the Legend stage, mine included as well, of course. But yeah, this is a banger of game to start things off. I think the desk painted a very nice, very pretty picture as to how these two teams are going to be shaping up, are going to be facing off against each other over here. Obviously, as pointed out on the desk, this is the revenge matchup for Heroic. It's kind of wild that these two teams haven't really faced each other since the previous major, but it was in the semifinals in front of that massive crowd in the Globe in Stockholm that it was G2 who knocked out Cadian and his men, and they would be looking for revenge. Of course, both the teams winning one and losing one. That being said, though, one thing I wanted to point out, which Maui said, was when it comes to the map pool over here, G2 actually are the slight underdogs, because Heroic, they have the deep map pool to force it on into Vertigo, and he comes a very fast play on towards the A-bomb side.
Down, stuck at back of the sandbags, is going to have to fight his way out, and so far he's passed those tests as he tries to back away to the side, but they're so low. There's so many G2 players sniffing them down, but Stown is continuing to land headshots. It's headshots aplenty, and he can lock it down single-handedly with a 4K. We're kicking things off fast in this game.
That is a way to start the game. All right. This game, it was looking to deliver Vince, and it's already delivered in just the one round. A very fast play coming in, and this was just a very uncomfortable position. Look at where he's standing, Vince, out in the middle of nowhere, having to take duels on multiple fronts, having to take care of ramp, having to take care of the players pushing up short as well. And for those very crucial 2 or 3 seconds where he was waiting for his teammates to arrive, he just needed to stay alive. He did even better. He found 3 massive kills. Great shooting coming out from the star of this heroic lineup. And speaking of stars, I mean, look at the players in the server right now, right? You're talking about Tessus, who was looking incredible yesterday. You, of course, have the trio in the form of Stan, Refresh, and Shox as well. And Cadian, right now the highest rated player for his team, he did say, you know, in the interview as well, he needs to really step up on LAN, because we know how dangerous it can be online. And on LAN, let's be real, when it comes to some of these big matchups, these sort of games where they go up against some of the top dogs, he has kind of failed to deliver at times as the primary opper, and he has really come to play here, at least on day 1. Right now, though, for G2, it's just going to be the pistols being purchased. They have invested in a bit of utility, however. You can see m0NESY with the Molotov lobbing it in, but a good counter molly from Tessus to try and force them not to come to the scaffolding, and they will come charging up towards the ramp, but it's a complete bloodbath.
Yeah, there's very little investment into this round on the side of G2. They pretty much had Glock, so fairly comfortable in the end. Quite a lot of those kills came off SMGs. Is great news for the CTs, though. Builds up that economy early on.
And right now, another player we need to keep an eye out, and something Maui said as well, is how m0NESY, right? He is the one player. He might be the main player, the main, you know, fulcrum for this G2 side, because he is a player who's supremely comfortable on Vertigo. He might not be as comfortable in some of the other maps like niko, whatnot, but we saw him coming in so clutch yesterday as well against NaVi, despite it being a losing effort, right? So he's a player we're going to be keeping an eyes on here. Right now, a bonus round for Heroic, so expect to see a little bit of aggression, and that is exactly what we see with Tessus.
So much damage to niko, lucky to survive, and Cadian puts him down through the smoke. A bonus, as you highlighted, and already they've taken the very valuable scalp of niko, who's yet to get off the mark.
Yep. Early find, and as again, just looking at the weaponry possessed by Heroic, it is the bonus round, right? The 2 MP9s, which made a lot of money in round number 2. Still doing a lot of work with Shox. I do believe Alexi B has an inkling where he is. But he won't face. He doesn't really need to face. He doesn't need to show anything. Stan's there, playing up close, right at the first couple of steps of the stairs. We're looking at the way G2 are grouping up right now. Bear in mind, this is the buy round. They haven't found anything yet. They are slowly creeping and crawling their way up. First point of contact is going to be Stan. Smokes are going to bloom, and Stan is ready to pull that trigger.
That flash is so good. It's so huge. And 3 kills off the back of it, plus the additional frag onto niko early on, puts m0NESY with his back to the wall, but he has came out swinging. 2 kills to his name, the only 2 kills G2 have mustered in this round, and with 25 seconds on the clock, it's not looking good for the young Maestro. Players surrounding him, does have at least control over the bomb, but when you consider Cadian and Refresh and their current positions, this is looking untenable for m0NESY. It would have to be some ridiculous insta-headshots, and Cadian, who was just chilling, coiled up, pounces in 3-0. That bonus round is successful.
It is very successful. The AK-47 getting picked up as well, and sure, even if you lose a couple of players, that's all right. Great hole coming out here from Heroic, right? We had the smokes being deployed, just the MP9s riddling away through the A-ramp smokes, and I love this flashbang from Cadian. They were waiting patiently. The timing on the flash could not have been better. Stan kept the kills, and despite being traded eventually, you know, it was a 1v4 rather. m0NESY trying his best to try and clutch it out, but unfortunately, he did have a number of clutches yesterday, Vince, but today, still early days, however. It's going to be the pistols now for the side of G2. Everyone grouping up together. Shox, he spots a pixel. He needs to be careful here. The nade won't really deal much damage. Alexi B up close and personal. And right now, he's alone at the B bomb site.
He's been flashed out multiple times. Is staying alive, though, which is the most important aspect of this. As long as he stays as a foundation, the rest of his team can build off that on the retake. And the bomb's still yet to get planted. Additionally, they have some HEs. They can toss these in. Going to be a bit of damage, but the bomb now does finalize down in position. Tons of damage from the smokes and the generators, and Tessus will claim first blood. This is where the boosted up niko with the deagle could be the difference maker. m0NESY will be his foundation. And Heroic are taking their sweet time. Half of that fuse is already ticked away. They're going to have to start pushing in. And niko, mid-air, plucks Alcadian, deals the fatal damage. This is where things start to get really awkward for Heroic. They've got to get onto the site. They need to get this defused any second now. But niko is continuing to put bullets into bases. The full defuse is coming to the forefront, though. But it gets cancelled away. And that will be G2 taking their first round.
Well, what a way to start things off for G2 the first round, just with the pistol light by and a couple of smokes getting deployed. And that's when, if you allow the T's to get the bomb, what is that from niko, though? It's not even a first shot, the second shot. Plucking the player from mid-air. Stan did his best to be the bodyguard over there, but huge round from G2. For Heroic, fortunately, because they've had a very successful bonus round, they will be able to eke out a very, very comfortable buy. Well, the AWPs coming out for both sides as well. Of course, it's going to be m0NESY for G2 and Cadian wielding best to, you know, try and prevent them from getting the bomb down. But unfortunately, the timing did quite pan out for Heroic. They had only one player towards B. He did the smart thing falling back, but they took too damn long and slowly crept on in. And of course, when you have someone like niko with the deagle, he's going to be cracking a couple of skulls, and that's exactly what happened here. For the side of Heroic right now, they have utilized a lot of their utility early on. They have just the one smoke and a Molotov in the hands of Refresh, but fortunately, he is the guy who's going to be making contact early on.
Oh, that flash was perfect. Tess is fully blinded, and the Finn, Alexi, will pounce and make the most of the opportunity. Cadian caught in an awkward position, but still stands his ground. We'll have more players to contend with, but Refresh is there, and the crossfire is good enough to send G2 packing.
This is a great flank coming in, though. They've managed to draw the rotation, and Hunter and Jax grouping up together, making the way towards mid. There's no one in the B bomb site, so the player making contact, it is going to be Refresh. But they've lost control of the B bomb site, Vince. But m0NESY has got the bomb, and he somehow lands attack on his start. How quick is this guy? It's right now a 3v3, but look at how low some of the players are. m0NESY, it's unconfirmed damage, mind you, as Refresh finds Hunter in the meantime.
m0NESY is still so aggressive. Combat AWPing. Once this kill, he can sense the blood in the water. But be careful what you wish for, because Stan's going to stand his ground.
No time.
And the bomb has been put on the ground as well. Jax cannot do anything about this other than save the AK, and Heroic put an abrupt end to G2's victory. They get the one round with pistols. They instantly fall back on themselves. And although Jax will have an AK, the money across the rest of the team here, Blair, is looking quite bleak on the side of G2. If they do get a buy, it's going to be an incredibly scrappy one.
That was a scrappy round. That was a very scrappy round. Great job from Cadian and Refresh, even though they lost tests early on towards the A bomb site, towards the ramp position. As you pointed out, a great flashbang enabling LXCB to get the kill, but they had a great crossfire shutting it down. And G2, they had control, but again, it is Stan, right? He is the thorn in their side. 10-1 already early on, and that is so unfortunate. Jax, he tries to find the timing, but Tess is spamming away. It's out in smoke. That's the only save, AK-47, which should be retrieved, but it might have fallen in a very uncomfortable spot here for m0NESY to grab onto. So, for the time being, the AK won't be retrieved. They still have the pistols, and one thing we know about G2, those pistols can be deadly. Immediate swap, the AK-47, it is going to be Hunter wielding it. He's the one with Kevlar alongside niko as well. For niko, he's got the deagle. Double man hold towards short. We have Refresh towards the A bomb site on top of the boxes, being a bit aggressive. A minute on the clock to work with for G2.
Tess is thinking about going in for that peek, but G2 taking their time, just watching on the ramp side. This is where they love one of these deagles to pop off, but it's m0NESY with the Tech 9. This taking point. Now Hunter steps up to the plate. They discuss the entry fragging distribution on G2 coming into this expertly on the desk. And this is where they need Hunter to go above and beyond. Time still dwindling. Nades being tossed in. Smoke in prime position allows Cadian the angle to peer down onto the ramp side. And at some point, G2 are going to have to try and go in for this entry. It's going to have to be raw. There's no flashes or smokes to utilize. Looking for the run boost. Forces up. Refresh takes the kill away, though, and sprays in for 2 more. Heroic put down the gauntlet, and G2 failed to muster anything in return.
I thought that was Cadian hitting the flick shot, but it's Refresh with a headshot mid-air, which is even more impressive if you think about it. Attack timeout getting called by G2 here very early on. I'm going to take a look at his POV. Actually, never mind. still, just very, very sharp shooting coming out from Refresh there. For G2, yeah, they didn't really have much utility. Sure, they had the AK-47. They tried to just swarm the bomb site, you know, just presenting so many targets that Heroic would be a little confused, but they had 3 CTs lying in wait. Once more, the replay.
Oh, the first kills on sandbags.
What?
He didn't even, he was aiming at the second guy. Thank you very much for that replay.
I didn't even catch it.
Yeah, the first
Okay.
kill was sandbag play, so he's just ran out and just got wrecked in the head out of nowhere. Oh, no.
It do be like that at times, Vince. It do be like that. 5-1 does the tactical timeout will run out. A multitude of smokes and incendiaries being dropped towards spawn as well, thanks to the nade update, which at this point has been there for a while. I still keep thinking it's something very recent, Vince. Here we go, though. Monacy with the AWP. The early Molotov for the back of sandbags to prevent any CTs from... Okay, hold up, Stawn. He's already down ladder so early in the round, Vince, and the timing, he can potentially catch someone off guard, but Lexi B, he seems to be wary. Stawn, though, looking the wrong way, and he still somewhat spins around and deals quite a bit of damage, and now he realizes that little window of opportunity, it has been shut in his face, and he will peel back towards mid. Jax could potentially still, however, catch him, crossing back over, but Jax decides not to stick around.
You see the reverberating effects it has, though. Not only have they been able to do quite a lot of nade damage to Lexi and niko, but it's slowed down G2 so much. They're so respectful of Stound's position that they've not pushed through ramp yet. They've not really started to get inroads towards B. That's changing now, though.
Yeah, and this is a right call from G2, right? Because of the flank coming in from Stawn, he would have conveyed information to his teammates. Listen, there are a multitude of players towards the bottom of ramp, try and have a heavier presence towards A. So G2, they peel back, as you pointed out, towards the B bomb site. Hunter gonna try one way, and he finds shox. That's a huge find. However, there's still one more CT nearby that is going to be Stawn. But that is man advantage here, Vince. But again, time, it could be an issue. 35 seconds remaining here. niko making his way up towards mid. The remaining CT slowly peeling back towards the A bomb site, where just one player lies in wait. It is only on Kaden with the AWP, but 24 seconds, they need to make a bit of haste here.
Additionally, Kaden nearly has full grenades. He's got Incendiary and a HE. This is going to be very good stopping power towards the side. Now there is a smoke, though, onto the site itself. Going to blockade a little bit of that vision. Kaden looking for the banked angle with the grenade. Molly tossed onto the site. Second Molly also on the site. 5 seconds to go. Jax has to go in for an awkward angle here. But niko with 3 entries out of nowhere just shuts down Heroic.
That was a flank, Vince. We saw him making his way towards ladder, and you were right. They had the utility, they had the nade, but what they weren't expecting, what they didn't have were eyes behind them, because niko sneaking in from behind. We couldn't even see his POV, but all we saw was his headshot. Pop, pop, pop. Goes the Weasels, and this is just the most perfectly timed flank we've seen thus far. Brilliant stuff from niko there, because that could have spiraled out of control. They barely had any time. The bomb went down with about 5 seconds remaining on the clock, but niko, the hero that G2 needed, and he delivers. A buy will still be very much within the realms of possibility here for Heroic, although the money has taken quite a hit, and you can see the amount of utility they have remaining. No incendiaries right now on any of the players. They have 3 smokes and a couple of flashbangs to work with. No kits either. He's looking to take the fight towards ramp. This time Tessus will fall. niko, he continues his reign of terror.
Oh, there needs to be a counter kill there. You feel like one of the peak from Cadian on the ramp, but there was a well-placed flashbang, kept them at bay. Smoke now deployed, but the damage has already been done. And as you see, niko starting to pick up a little bit of pace, and that's going to be a terrifying prospect if you're over on the side of Heroic. This time rapidly getting in on the B side, looking for double boosts up as well. We saw a one-way smoke yield a frag in the previous round on Hunter, but this time he will be preyed down from Shush, and in doing so, they're going to get aggressive on the A side here as well. It's pretty much free. It's all a ruse.
It's all a ruse. The smoke's getting deployed. You can see the CTs. They have read this, though, Vince. You can see the rotations immediately taking place. They might have heard a couple of footsteps because there was a lot of sound being made by G2 as they head back towards the A bomb site, but already 3 defenders, meaning that 2 defenders lie in wait. And we can see the B bomb set being relinquished as well by Heroic. 27 seconds, they need to get the bomb down now. Fortunately for them, Heroic, they don't have any nades and no incendiaries. So the bomb will be planted, and now it's a 4v4 retake. But this lurk from Refresh could be everything.
Yeah, this is huge, and you can see Jax is definitely up to the task. He's seen this before. He's just jump spotting, looking for that Refresh play. They go out for the peak, but Monacy will not miss his chance. And with that kill, that may be the save being called. You mentioned before that their utility was low. That's because their money is overall in a very rough position.
Yeah.
So save will be coming to the forefront just to allow them a buy into the next round. Now puts G2 on 3. They don't have to rush down the ramp either, so they can just save up here instead. And it looks like Refresh will not be challenged. Thus, 5-3 will be the score, and Heroic will save 3 weapons.
Yeah, great round there from G2. And for Refresh, it's totally understandable why he didn't peek the bottom of ramp. He was waiting for his teammate to maybe get a kill, because we saw Jack spotting him, right? He was jumping over the sandbags, was jump spotting the flank from Refresh, and Refresh was very cognizant of that fact. So what he was waiting for was for a kill to go his teammate's way, or at least a trade, and then he could try and catch someone off guard amongst the confusion, get that timing in. But once m0NESY gets that first kill, and that was a very impressive kill. He didn't fall for the player jumping across. He waited for the peak to come in, and he took down the AWP there. So 5-3 for G2. It is a save here. And because of that, Heroic, they're trying to be a little bit more aggressive. They know they have the weaponry disadvantage. A couple of 5-7s here for shox and Tessus, and Hunter will plug stance and clean off his shoulders. That's an important pick to find towards the B stairs entrance. And now shox, remember, he's only got the 5-7.
Interestingly, they didn't go for a full force pick with 3 guns. They could have scraped together a buy. It doesn't allow them some opportunities into the next one, but it seems like G2, for the time being, behind that smoke, are going to just take their time. m0NESY boosted up, trying to peer over that smoke. Nothing forthcoming. Heroic, even though they are a player behind and have a lack of utility, are positioning themselves across the map in spots where they get early alarm systems off place. They can go for those fast rotations if the call does come in, but G2, they're really slowing this round down now.
Tessus, though, somehow finding the little window as he slowly makes his way down. Now, this is with 40 seconds on the clock. The timing could catch G2 off guard. You can see the couple of players pushing up towards B bomb site, though, and you can see the bomb will be following them. It is going to be shox now. Fall down the line. He finds one. A second, however, will not come to fruition. Hunter takes down shox. The bomb will be lobbed in. Smoke's getting deployed, and unless Tessus can find a timing here in m0NESY, he's being very patient here. Vince is going to find one, looking for the second kill as well, but somehow he doesn't get the kill. Now it's a 3v2, and suddenly it's man advantage for Heroic.
Hunter and Alexi still alive, though, and the bomb is ticking away in the background. We saw earlier the first round G2 picked up was on the B side because Heroic were too slow. They took way too long, and this time maybe overzealous is Refresh, trying to leap around the side, puts Tessus and Cadian in a bit of a lurch position now, and Cadian realizes this is untenable, especially as there's no kit that they have under possession. It's a nice effort, but G2 now, from a 5-1 deficit, have closed the gap to just 1 round. Cadian with his save may be able to squeak out a buy, although the economy's not great for the rest of the Danes.
Great round from Hunter there, Vince, because that flank from Tessus could have completely ruined their day, but able to get the 4 kills. Yes, sure, a couple of the players who only had the pistols, but still ensuring that things don't slip out of the hands. The first kill, this is so well read by Hunter, and then ably trading the players as well. You gotta be, imagine if Refresh is jumping around the corner. It's not really a very easy jump to make, and then you have Hunter in your face, smacking it down. 52 floors. Heroic now. A bit stymied, Vince. It looked like they were off to a fantastic start there. We saw in the beginning itself Dawn with that brilliant 4K on the USP, and the anti-eco as well, surviving along with their bonus round. But then ever since G2 were able to win that 1 round with the half buy, they've started to look better and better. And right now, this game, again, our desk did point out, heading into Vertigo, it's a map that G2 would not necessarily be too comfortable with, but it is something they couldn't help because of how deep and how solid Heroic's map pool is. But right now, they are indeed putting up a fantastic fight. 5-4, as the buy will come in for Heroic. It is a FAMAS for shox, the rest of them A1s and an AWP, a decent bit of utility as well for the CD side. And for G2, of course, money for days for a number of these players. LXCB's an 8,300, mind you, and this after the buy, after having lost 3 members in the previous round. Still, a little quiet for young m0NESY, though, right? Again, T-side AWPing, Vertigo, it's never that easy. It's on the CD side where we really want to see him kind of explode. But some of the players you look at, the Cousins, the Kovacs, niko, and Hunter, being extremely impactful here early on. as Heroic look to try and aggress here towards ramp, but the timing could potentially go wrong. niko going to be the first guy coming upside the scaffolding area, and with the smoke being deployed here, might just opt to push ahead of the smoke. Just find himself ahead of it. The wall bangs by Tessus. A clear tell as to where the CTs are playing, and now the 4 CTs lying in wait. If G2 head towards his bomb site, this could be disastrous. I don't see anyone lurking as well.
First, we've seen the smoke a couple of times already, mollying the sandbags, just cordoning off that area. But Refresh is playing around the edge of the smoke. The spray is not on point, and m0NESY punishes him. Although hefty damage is inflicted, Refresh will feel like he should have done better there. And it puts the rest of his teammates on A, even though it is a bolstered up defense, into a bit of a lackadaisical position. They need entries, and they need them right now. And Hunter moves into the double peak from Tessus, and Refresh now going to be coming away from the grave. There's 10 seconds to go, and Cadian shows his hand with the AWP. Although Jax is keeping himself in this round, there's only 4 seconds to play with. Has to tickle the bomb out, do a bit more damage. The headshot is crisp, but Shush still lives. The damage, though, is so heavy towards Heroic's economy that they're not going to fully establish themselves after even winning this round.
At least you're able to salvage the AWP at the end over there. Jax making it so very expensive. And honestly, if you had like 5 more seconds, I could see Jax pull this one off. Great attempt from him, but they just ran out of time, Vince. And of course, it was all predicated off Tessus being aggressive towards short. He finds the first couple of kills, continues to hold W, picking up a nifty little 3K over there. G2 maybe taking a little bit too much time towards that play. And this is, mind you, despite the fact that Heroic had 4 players stacked. Even then, it came down to the 1v1. The time being the savior for the Danes. Tessus once more. Bastion of this short position. Playing in front of the smoke here, and m0NESY trying to spot something. He sees him, and that is a perfect pick from m0NESY, enabled by the flashback from niko as well. Tessus wasn't just caught out in the open, he was blinded for days as well, Vince, and that's a huge opening pick. Now with Tessus gone, that's going to draw out the rotation from Heroic. They might even opt to be aggressive towards another part of the map. In fact, they're just leaving the A bomb site right now. They're committing towards this B play, and that leaves just the one player towards the A bomb site, that is Cadian, and he will be plucked by Hunter. That's a call for the save. You save right now if you're Heroic.
Refresh is still keeping himself in close proximity, though, surprisingly, but that smoke may very well force him away. Flashbang over. Feels like it's more just buying up time than anything else, and indeed, the save is coming in for Heroic. This is also one of the downsides and one of the aspects of losing so many players in that previous round. It doesn't really give you any freedom to play with. Your options are limited. You're running dry in that regard. So, G2, they started so poorly. Their one round they picked up in the first 4 or 5 was off a pistol that Heroic kind of flubbed, in all honesty. They took way too long on the retake. But since G2 have picked up rifles, since they've got themselves stabilized in this game, they have looked by far and away the more comfortable team. And that's a little bit of a worrying sign on the side of Heroic. When we saw Vertigo come up, we were a little bit, I don't want to say necessarily shocked about G2's decision to let it through, but maybe a bit concerned about what that would mean in terms of their standings going into this game. Well, so far, Hunter in particular has been a man possessed. He's been getting entries across the board. These last couple rounds, we've seen m0NESY start to get some entries as well with the AWP, so things starting to click together nicely.
Yeah, it's been a team effort, as the cliche goes, Vince. Like, everyone's had their moments. We saw that massive flank from niko as well, in a round where they barely had any time remaining. We've had m0NESY get some openings. Hunter coming in massively clutch. There we go. Great opening from Hunter, but Shush, he just quiets them as Tessus finds niko as well through the smoke, and they continue to aggress. m0NESY's seen the player. It is so very quick. Refresh will fall, and look at m0NESY go, Vince. He's going to use his own smoke to creep on up ahead. Scoped in. Should be heard by the CT right alongside him. That is, of course, Tessus, and Tessus opts not to stick around. Falling back as m0NESY, the Molotovs give away is where Tessus potentially is, and the timing could not have been better for Tessus. Jax left alone in a 1v3. Huge 2k from Shush there. Not only gets a trade, but gets a 2k towards the B stairs.
I'd love to see that from his perspective, because that second kill must have been a flick straight to the dome. Lightning fast. For him to double up, you can see the 2 corpses on the ground here, right next to one another. And now Jax, who put a lot of damage down a couple rounds ago, when he really had no right to get even close into that, and it was just time that worked against him, still has 50 seconds on the clock to make some inroads up on B. That Molotov will be good to force Cadian away. He'll smoke down, so at least Jax now knows where one of these 3 players currently resides. Smoke in will afford him safe passage in the play on the generators. And now Jax knows where one player is. He now knows where both. He's heard the footsteps. This is a winnable round for Jax, but Tessis will dethrone him. Jax is having some big moments now in the last few rounds, but Heroic get their 7th on the board.
Man, Jax is so very clutch, right? We've seen a couple of instances here already where, sure, that clutch and play out his way, but he had the right idea. If it won the duel with a play towards window, that could be huge, and you pointed it out. What a beautiful spray transfer from shox, a laser gun, and Tessis as well, lining up his crosshair perfectly. niko actually peeked off the smoke, but then Tessis, 2K for him as well, and Alexi looking to take an early fight here. Flashes popping from both the sides. shox will be forced back early on over here. m0NESY once more looking to find something. Tessis pushed up pretty deep. As the bullets, he's dodging them. Just going whizzing passes here in Tessis. He's shown where he is. m0NESY's going to keep going for these wall bangs, but the nades just getting rained in along with the incendiary from Heroic. It's not really dealing too much damage, but it's giving them that opportunity to peel back safely from that ramp fight.
The downside is, though, Blair, once a retake comes in, if it does, there's no incendiaries left, no HEs. They pretty much have smokes across the board, and there's still a minute to play with. So you can see both sides of it. Ence in a bit of a stalemate, but I'd say G2, considering the lack of damage they took, look at their utility still. They're looking pretty sharp.
Yeah, and they're continuing to head towards this A side, and m0NESY, what a find. Tessis caught jumping across, just catches his shoulder vents, and he dislocates it with an AWP, and slowly here to start creeping up here. Refish has to do something, and he will find nothing.
Smoke out. Could be another save coming up, honestly. I don't think Heroic really have any chances of doing anything in this round. There's a slight gap in that smoke, though. So if a T decides to push by, it could be to their detriment. Jax decides better of that decision. And the post-plant comes to the forefront. But Heroic, they don't look too interested in this as of yet. They're trying to peel back, and niko really should have had that kill. A player of his caliber, you expect him to come out ahead of that one in Cadian. It's like, what are you doing around here, you sly little dog?
I do love how niko just went for the taps there, up close. Like, almost any other player would just gone for the spray, and it just taps away. And if he got it, it would have been like, holy hell, niko is such a god. But then Cadian, a little bit more accurate with the 5-7 of his. But G2, that's fine. That's okay. You lose one player, and you are right now 1 round behind that of Heroics. Now, for Heroic, it's a hard call to make here. They could force, but it'll be what the two of the players that die, they'll have to wield maybe a pistol, and the other one might have a FAMAS drop. But if he does get a FAMAS drop, that's going to minimize the utility. And you could see, Vince, in the previous round you pointed out how they'd use up all the nades and the incendiaries early on. So because of that, they were kind of forced to take the fights at ramp. They were like, okay, we can't allow them up easily onto the bomb site because they don't have that the utility to keep them at bay or to go for the retake. So we need to find a couple of kills and then maybe peel back towards the bomb site. Unfortunately, m0NESY finding the perfect timing. Tessis was jumping across, and then like he didn't see m0NESY because his head model was behind the wall, and the second jump, m0NESY, he doesn't miss that, shots like that especially. And then of course niko getting the second one as well. Just brilliant stuff from G2. Just basically catching Heroic making tiny little mistakes, right? It's not like any forced errors being inflicted here by G2. But for Heroic, considering the start they had, considering how solid they were looking early on, and considering that our desk did say that Heroic would be the favorites here in this particular matchup, especially in Vertigo, we definitely have a game on our hands. shox, this time, will find Jax. He does take a bit of damage, but 46 HP. The trade-off being taking down the Danger Man, the Frenchman on the side of G2. They'll take it.
m0NESY uncharacteristically misses the shot. Missed down. We'll take that warning. Heeds it, backs away. Tess is going to get the drop onto niko. Super fast reactions from niko to even nearly jump on top of that one. And now Hunter, double entries onto the sites. Down May best Alexi, but that bomb is picked up instantly afterwards. Fast rotation sees 2 CTs, though 2 Danes pick up the mantle on the B site. And so although G2 have had success, this round is far from over.
m0NESY calling it out that he's heard a couple of players towards window and is looking to find one here, and Cadian might fall, and indeed he will, but Tess is still towards A bomb site. What do Heroic do right now? It's a 2 versus 2. They've lost sight of the bomb, Hunter now going to be grouping up with Monacy. They have options available to them, Vince. Still 50 seconds on the clock, and because of that, we can see the proactiveness coming out from Refresh. He's going to be going in for the push towards mid, coming down the ladder, and that could be the round-winning play here for Heroic.
That Refresh will be able to maybe not get one of these kills outright, but as soon as that first bit of contact is done, it may be good enough. But as you said, he's headed towards the B site here. That is leaving Tessis in the lurch. He's got a small angle on side. Now the mollies come in. That will give away the plan, the masterful play from G2, and Hunter, with his third entry in the round, leaves it to Monacy. And it was that decision that cost them so dearly. Refresh thinking it was B over A.
It's so 50-50 though, right? He had the right play, but 5 seconds earlier, Vince, and he would have seen them. And he could have definitely have found maybe even both of them. What a round from Hunter though. What a round from Hunter. And it was all because of Monacy, right? He was towards mid, he conveyed information to his teammate that, listen, you're all by your lonesome right now. The 2 CDs lying in wait. Just head on back. Wait for me to find a pick towards mid. Great call and great kills as well from Hunter and Monacy holding the flank. And Heroic, they just capitulate there. Tag time as well getting called by G2. All right, despite tying things up as we head into the final round of the first half, Vince, it's even Stevens. G2 showing that there are no minnows on this map. And they can definitely go toe-to-toe with the might of this Danish side. I do like what the picture the desk painted earlier as well, where they pointed out how for Heroic, once it beat NaVi at the RMR, it was kind of like a curse being broken. It was kind of like, finally breaking the mental barrier. And then for them to do this against G2 here in this best of one would be even better for them as a unit. But right now, G2 not making it easy at all. Great flashbang, brilliant flashbang. Monacy will fall, courtesy of the flash. Even though Caden gets a kill, it was a flash that got the kill, in my opinion.
Still 2 players on the side. Sjuush going for the wide swing and takes the head of Hunter. It's not enough for the kill, but it'll make him dizzy and dazed on the approach. Refresh has the off angle. We've seen Cadian play this a couple of times. He's lost his teammate, but all he has to do is stay alive. And if they don't molly this angle, if he doesn't show his hand, they could line up for 2 or 3. There's also 2 weakened players. Jax joins Hunter in that mantle, but niko sprays down Cadian. That may make Refresh feel like he has to snatch in here and take some kills. There's more than a second as well. And the flash from Cadian is so good. And niko put one in as well. Could have done more harm than good to his teammates. Suddenly, this spins back around in favor of Heroic. The bomb drop position is grim. And with a smoke down on the stairs, Hunter and niko have got to try and chime together in tandem. Molly up and over, clearing out the angle. But now this is where things get so difficult for G2.
And Refresh is tucked into the same position as well. They might not be expecting this great nade, however, taking him down at 53 points of health. And you got to remember, Hunter is on 16 HP. This could be very, very grim for G2, but the cousins, we know how capable they are.
Oh, if there's 2 players you want in this position, it's these 2. So much cohesion and chemistry. But Heroic, they've got great positions, and the time itself is working against the cousins. Refresh gets the drop onto Hunter, and niko with 10 seconds have to go huge. The one tap onto Tessis is sublime, but it was a bridge too far. And Refresh was the ace up the sleeve they needed. The Danes will lead going through into the second half, but by the slimmest of margins.
That was played to perfection by Refresh, Vince. So many times you could see it going through his head. Do I peek right now? Do I peek right now? My teammate just died at the B bomb site, but he finds the perfect timing. He even walks in a little bit closer to ensure he gets a 2K over there. No way Jackson and Lexi were expecting him to be in that position. And then he repositions himself in the same pillar. 4K, huge round for Refresh, despite niko almost pulling off what it seemingly looked like the impossible. The one tap with the final bullet of that AK-47. But unfortunately, the Deagle couldn't get anything done. So Heroic, the narrowest of leads heading to the second half here. Now they're going to be on the T side. For G2, we have the kit in the hands of Alexi B, a couple of flashbangs, 4 flashes for the CD side, and a smoke for Hunter. The smoke getting dropped by niko to its cousin. Alexi B and Monacy obviously looking to spot someone down towards the ramp position from the scaffolding. Doesn't see anyone as Heroic just grouping up together. A 5-man unit. They have left Cadian behind, just watching towards mid, looking for a potential flank. As his 4 soldiers, they march on ahead. They have a flash, Vince, and a couple of P250s. in the hands of shox and Ston. They're going to be the mini raid boss in this round.
Difficult one to deal with, but it's so tense right now, Blair. You can feel the tension between these two teams. A 1-for-1 matchup, so much on the line in the legend stage of the major, and it's Refresh, who's just off the back of a fantastic round, has had tons of impact early in this one, but niko puts his USP to use before he gets diced by sjuush's P250. And there's still time on the clock. There's still the ability for Cadian to get this flank in. We saw niko from this very position locked down around, but Hunter is up to the task. Even trades back and forth. Heroic have options. The bomb is now making use up on the ramp side, and sjuush puts the P250 to use once again. And it puts Jax into such an awkward spot. He has got a couple of very good back-to-the-wall plays. It seems like when he's at his most dangered, he really does step up to the plate. But this may be too much to ask from him, as Testis behind the site is able to just play possum, allow his teammate to come in as well if he needs him. But so far, they're doing a good job of just whittling away this time. Jax is depleted on the magazine as well. Just a couple more bullets left in the chamber, and he's going to have to use all of them if he's going to clutch this round out. Testis now relocates. He is hurt by Jax, though, but on the retreat, he will remove the head and get that second pistol to the Danes.
He could have clutched it out. He picked up the kit off Alexi's body, and I'm sure there was a smoke lying somewhere in the vicinity as well, because that's where all the CTs fell. And if he gets a first kill on the Testis, that could have been, well, potentially him even sticking a defuse. But huge round being won here by Heroic as they take both the pistols. Brilliantly played by Testis, mind you. The P250, more than capable of going up against USPs at range. Of course, a force buy will be coming in for G2. Holding presence towards mid, 3 members. And Hunter boosted up where he is. He does have his teammate nearby in the form of Alexi B, who has been whittled down to 16, so he will backpedal real quickly. Hunter's been spotted, his feet seen by Ston. And Hunter slowly peeling away as well. He knows that little element of surprise they had has swiftly dissipated. Aggressive stance from niko in the meantime at the near the bottom of ramp as well. There's a bit of a standstill right now as Heroic, 4 members grouped up towards mid. This could be scary, but when you have these rifles coming up towards mid, so many angles where you can just get pincered by the CTs. And there we go, niko just needs 1 bullet, and that's the call for them to head on towards mid. But they're going to be smoked off as well. Their avenue, they could actually split to A or towards B, but where do they go is the question.
Oh, this is looking menacing now. Heroic, they've gone back to the smokes. They know the CT's going to be circling them. And m0NESY puts the deagle down range, but Tassis straight back in with 2 Galil headshots. And just like that, the round falls into place, but it's not without a couple twists and turns and scary moments.
That looked a little dicey, I won't lie. m0NESY finds us first. He even sees the second T jumping on top. He was able to see him through the grating. But great recovery overall from Testis. Great 2K there. niko getting a little unlucky. Maybe not expecting the peak there from Testis, but Heroic 10-7. They start to once more extend their lead. Testis having a hell of a game, 16-12. Everyone chipping in for the side of Heroic, and on the side of G2, of course, as you pointed out earlier, Vince Hunter having a phenomenal game thus far. niko as well, he had that one magnificent clutch earlier on. m0NESY has kind of started to come alive as well in a couple of the rounds where he had the AWP, but right now, he won't have his weapon of choice. No op yet for young m0NESY. No rifles for anyone. It's just the deagles and a couple of the players in the hands of the Frenchman, the former Jax and niko. niko and a deagle. It's a saying at this point.
I mean, going back many, many years, back to his Mousesports days, he's known as one of the best deaglers on the planet. He's had so many clips, so many moments.
I might even say he's the best, honestly. I'll just go out on a limb and say it, right?
I think that's definitely a fair assessment.
A bit of a stack towards B here. And Heroic are crawling their way towards that very site. The 4 players here lying in wait. niko's the only one on the A bomb side. And bear in mind, there is still a P250. There is still a deagle in play here. Alexi B, Jax, Hunter, and m0NESY.
This could get a little bit tantalizing for G2, because they can now hear the stampede of T's pushing towards them, looking to try and gore the oncoming CTs, but the first frag is USP1. It's Alexi B who gets 2 USP headshots. And now Heroic with 24 seconds left. They're scrambling. They're desperately trying to get any kind of ground that they can onto the site. And now all of the CTs are moving in close proximity. There's P250s, the Deagles, and Jax has rattled the skull of Refresh. Stavn will at least put him down with the fire, but they still need to get the bomb across to the site. And look who's watching the cross. It's niko, but he falls down, and Cadian clutching with just seconds to spare.
That got unnecessarily very, very close for Heroic. We saw the stack coming in, Vince, but they were so trepidant of pushing on in. They could try to swarm the site, but Jax he missed a lot of his shots initially, but he did such a good job just whittling away at the HP, keeping them at bay with the Desert Eagle. And LexiB, as you pointed out, with a USP, getting 2 kills as well. Jax chipping in with a 3rd, but then Heroic able to somehow stem the bleeding, but they've done quite a bit of damage to the economy. You can see the money's kind of low on a few of the players here for Heroic, despite having won the pistol and the following anti-ecos. And here comes a very fast play towards B. Shush's crosshair was on Jax, but he doesn't find the kill. Barely any damage in the direction of Jax, who's down to 74 HP, but he will be the one to find the frag. I love the pace being set there by Heroic. Unfortunately, even though they caught Jax out of the open, not quite able to capitalize on it, and Shush is going to be kicking himself because of that fact. Open hands of Monacy, and you got to look at the economy for G2. Look at the utility they possess. It's quite minimal, Vince. Again, a retake possibility is very slim. Jax is the only one with Jax and LexiB. They have a couple of smokes, a flash, and a nade. That is all they have to work with still a minute on the clock. So Heroic still do have the slight edge despite being a man down. Nade going to be lobbed in towards Jax's position, but he will not be anywhere in the vicinity.
Mission here as well, though. The Heroic are all clumped up on B. As far as they're concerned, they may be getting flanked right now. They have so little map control, and now they're blotting out the entire site, trying to relinquish this from the CT's control. Annul the partnership that Jax has got onto the site with generators, and now mollies, flashes, and Stavn comes in huge, but the spray is good for Hunter and Jax, and these A1S is starting to rip and tear the oncoming T's. It's down to Refresh, spinning on the top, hoping for the best, crossing his fingers, and Monacy puts him down in the dirt. And this is where Monacy can certainly start to have more impact. We discussed this before. When he's on the CT side and he has an AWP in his hands, expect a power spike to come with it.
Oh, absolutely. And you can see like but for me, more impressively was just the way G2 held on to this, right? First, Jax being very lucky to stay alive, but then Jax getting a 2nd kill. And even though LexiB wasn't able to find a frag at the end, the fact that he just stayed alive dancing around the smoke alongside Jax, great work from the Frenchman. He might have had a couple of potential clutches which slipped out of his fingers in the first half, but right now on his B bomb side, he's been fantastic. Heroic now down to just the pistols and a couple of AKs, and Cadian already getting dunked down to 39 HP early on. Shush and Stavn will be the ones wielding the AK-47, and Shush once more getting boosted up here. This time Jax playing behind the pillar. It's not been seen. But a great flashback to find LexiB, but Jax will reply immediately.
Rapid response. Jax keeping his team onto the site. Hunter will be laying him a helping hand from the generators, and double flank coming in to the forefront. However, Heroic still with a minute on the clock can wrap back around onto the A side of the map, and G2 should be cognizant of this. They should be wary of this being a distinct possibility. niko is on point. Going back to the site, he is alone and doesn't have any utility, no smokes, no incendiaries to stave off this push. However, Heroic have no idea about this, so they still have to take their time and clear these angles too.
Yeah, and they have the smoke and a flashbang, which I envision them using before they make their way towards the bomb site, and that is going to be an easy tell for G2 to peel a player back, and that's actually what's going to happen here. With 35 seconds on the clock, you already have Hunter making his way to join his cousin and bolstering that A bomb site. The smoke will be popping any time right now. 25 seconds. The pistols at close range, though, Vince, could be deadly.
Well, the Tech 9 is run and gun heaven, and Tessis and Refresh both have it. Here comes the aforementioned flashbang. Could be the difference maker if it can annul some of that vision. niko gets hit with it plumb, but does turn his back, so it's barely affected, but it's enough to draw away the CTs long enough to afford and yield a bomb plant. And now Stavn has the clear angle. He's not being peeked from the boxes. He's got the perfect angle to repel this Hunter push, but here is a flashbang, fully lands in his face, and he will be sliced and diced by Hunter. That flashbang is on point, but Tess is still in for the chance. Still with a Tech 9, but not for much longer. And that flash was a thing of beauty.
Flash being lobbed in by the Flash himself. Perfectly timed. There was no way he was going to be able to dodge that. If you saw the Flash on with your X-ray on right there, you could see it pops. Like the moment he sees it, that's the second it pops. Brilliantly played. And Heroic, I like the attempt there to get the bomb down, the aggressive slight off angle from Ston. But G2 crossing their T's, dotting their I's, ensuring that whatever little bit of utility they have, they're going to use it with the utmost lethality. As here we go. Just a pistol this time. It's not the force bite. No AKs, just no armor, just a light bunch of pistols, and just should be Farm City for Jax.
Yeah, that Molotov should tell Jax everything he needs to know. Alongside Alexi, the hold is good. It's firm. They lose one player. That's going to be fine as long as it stays that way. Bomb's been dropped down as well, and this round now is a foregone conclusion. We have a real game on our hands here, man. This is going the distance, and it just seems like when one team starts to take a little bit of a lead, the other grabs them on the shoulders and pulls them back again.
Oh yeah, this is so back and forth. And honestly, I'd have to agree with Maui and Maniac on the desk when they said, you know, Heroic would be the kind of the slight favorites heading to this matchup, considering the map here, which is Vertigo. But G2, the CD side thus far, has looked very, very solid indeed. This is despite losing the pistol round, so great work overall. Especially, again, I will have to reiterate, this B hole from Jax and Alexi has been great. It has been so well done. But that is something which G2 could try, Heroic could try and abuse a little bit. You know about the amount of pressure they're exerting towards this B bomb side, that niko kind of remains the sole A anchor. And that is something they could try and abuse, and try and maybe go for a bit of a B ruse. Try and get the bomb planted towards the A bomb side, just play the post plan. That is something which we haven't really seen much yet from Heroic, but it could be here this round. Tessus has quieted down a little bit on his T side, hasn't really found the impact that he did on the CT side. 11 to 10 though, still a tiny lead, a tenuous lead for Heroic. As Tessus, the man just mentioned right now, slowly creeping on up the scaffolding. m0NESY playing towards sandbags. He's got niko right next to him. The smoke will be a giveaway as to where he is, but there's no one to check for that position.
And he's lining that smoke up so we can extinguish it enough. We could still peek on the right side. Nicely done. niko now moves into the ramp. There's a smoke down. He wants to take the initiative, take the fight to the T's. If he goes down without anything in return, though, that would be terrible news for G2. And he thinks better of that decision and just slightly backs off.
This is a two-pronged excursion coming in from Heroic, though, right? We have the plays towards mid. We saw it earlier as well in the second half. 3 players slowly grouping up. We have shox at the bottom of the B stairs, ensuring no one is being aggressive. G2 haven't really been too hyper-aggressive towards the B stairs. Alexi B with the off angle here. If they find Alexi B, then they know the B bomb set's only Jax, and that allows them a couple of seconds to make this work. It's a bit of an off angle here. Could be good for one, but he should be traded if they do opt to go for this play. And look at the utility. It's kind of lacking here for the T's. No more flashes, Vince. No more smokes. No more nothing. Just the AK-47s.
And Alexi, because of the timing, is now just going to draw away. Go back to that B site. Refresh, though, pushing in, may get a drop, and indeed gets the opportunity for Jackson. Alexi lock it down, and now Hunter steps up. 3 kills back-to-back for G2.
Bombs down.
Is massive. And with a bomb down in mid and only 13 seconds on the clock, it's going to have to be raw fragging, and m0NESY just silences Shush. Tess is stuck on the box. No real hope. No chance at clutching the round. We are tied up at 11 apiece.
The timing on Alexi B to just relinquish control of mid and just head towards the B bomb side, it couldn't have been even more perfect, Vince. The moment they try to go for the hit, he's nowhere to be found. The Molotov towards the window, the rotation coming in, absolute insanity. Meanwhile, yeah, the B stream update for you guys. It is, once again, easy for Ence Outsider getting absolutely destroyed, Vince. 16 and 8, the scoreline for Snappy and his merry men.
Holy
hell, okay, Ence. I see you. Right now, though, this one is not easy for anyone. niko looking to be aggressive. Again, Heroic down to just the pistols. We have the saved AK-47 for Tessus, and he will find niko. That is a huge find. m0NESY with a hit and a miss, and now he's getting hounded down, Vince.
He has help though, he has some supporting cast members. Hunter is there alongside him, so is Alexi, and it looks like the young Maestro will be safe after all. It was looking grim for a few moments, but that is teamwork in a nutshell. And let's be honest, Heroic had an AK and basically Glocks. They had very, very low % chance of getting anything done in that round.
Tessus, though, great opening kill on niko. I didn't even see that, but it looked like it was so very quick. Good trade from m0NESY, as you pointed out, though. The cavalry arriving in the nick of time. m0NESY doing a fantastic job just staying alive. 5 on the trot for G2. They have looked incredible ever since they've got the rifles in their hands. Lost the first 3 rounds of the second half, but right now they're ablaze. They are on fire. And looking to try and close this one out. Still 4 rounds remaining for them, and bear in mind, Heroic can easily snatch this one back. Contact being made. niko, this time he finds his vengeance. Tessus will fall, and no trade possible. The deep CD smoke keeping the oddities at bay, and Heroic once more left a little lost, a little floundering, a little just wondering, what do we do to crack open this defense from G2?
And just to go back on a point that you mentioned before, G2, when the rifles have come out on both sides, it's been a carbon copy, they've looked like the much better team. Keep in mind, Heroic won both pistol rounds, and they're still drawing away and getting slowly shaped out of this round. 5 could very well become 6 in a row for G2 as niko goes from strength to strength. He hasn't had his best performance, but he's had a ton of impact. 19 HP separating him from his demise, and m0NESY giving Stown a free haircut. That's going to be Heroic pretty much done in this round.
And this is exactly what Maui's talking about when he speaks about how m0NESY is so very comfortable on this map, how he maneuvers around the map and finds his little angles, the little timings. He knows what the T's are up to, and he can be such a nuisance on the CD side. Of course, with just the incredible precision of his aim as well, he was going to be such a problem for Heroic as he moved on to the second half, and he's showing so. He wasn't nowhere close to being the top fragger for his team on the by the end of the second half. By the end of the first half, Vince, right now 17 and 13. Sure, it's not getting like crazy multi-kills, but seemingly finding that 1 or 2 kills every round, which either forces Heroic to go for a save or just shuts it down at the end. Hunter, in the meantime, quietly on 21 kills. Everyone chipping in for the side of G2. Alexi B and Jax being just a rock wall of defense on the B bomb side. niko just popping heads towards ramp. Hunter just being everywhere. And of course, m0NESY, the closer, the turret with an AWP. Heroic, they seem to have no idea as to how to crack this right now. And I won't lie, it hasn't even been close, apart from a couple of rounds where they maybe get the bomb down. But even then, it's like a 2v3 or a 2v4 favoring the side of G2. And the retakes have been very, very clinical indeed. Tag timeout, the third one of this game, getting called by Heroic. And again, right, when it comes to Heroic, the one criticism I have with this team is when it comes to the big games. When I'm talking about in front of a crowd, in front of an arena, that's where I feel like, and I do believe Caden mentioned in his interview as well, it's like that's where our comms kind of fail at times. That's when we do tend to struggle a little bit. But they are, and I'm sure a lot of people will agree, you know, a studio LAN environment animal. They're so comfortable in these sort of LAN environments where there's no crowd, it's just a team versus a team on LAN. And that's where they get some of their big wins. And we saw it in RMR as well, we've seen it during other stages. But right now, G2, they seem to have the number here.
Nice statistic as well that 13-11 paints a bit of a false narrative. It's been close, but more than half of Heroic's rounds have been off the back of pistols. They've won 6 rounds, both pistols, and they've converted the subsequent 2 after that. So once G2 have had rifles in their hands, they have been by far and away the better team. And that's kind of what you're going alongside with what you were talking about before, that we're having these turrets being put into place now, the stability that the economy on the CT side has afforded G2. And it's hard to see how Heroic, at this stage, are going to really crack through this fortress that's been built up.
17 opening duels won by G2 here, Vince, but this opening duel will go the way of Heroic. Great find by Ston there. Cheeky little crouch peek around the corner and trying to retrieve that AK-47. Alexi B trying to use a smoke. Did find something. I don't think they're going to be expecting his position here. I think he can see it. He sees him. Well, I see him. He definitely sees him now. No, he hasn't. Now he does. Finally, he will find Ston. And he notices another player nearby. And with the final bullet, he gets a kill. But in the meantime, Tess and Shush, they find a couple of kills. m0NESY, niko will fall. The A bomb site is open for business.
it is. Alexi decides not to go in for that peek. There's Molotovs on 19 HP. Correct decision. Perfect crosshair, but the timing for Shush nearly works against him. And Jax is still alive. You mentioned that they were this B side, just wall that had been deployed, but that wall is now closing in on Heroic. And is Cadian able to step up to the plate and deliver with his AWP? He's been quite quiet on this T side. This would be a huge moment for the man to strike, but they're going for the full defuse underneath his nose. The sheer audacity from Alexi.
Pros don't fake. Alexi B, he knew he was low. They had no idea where Cadian was. They don't tap the bomb. As you said, Vince, he just goes for the full stick. But also, again, finding these 2 kills over there in mid was so very important. I don't even see how Heroic are able to get this win those 2 duels towards the A ramp position, right? They took out niko and m0NESY just with the pistols. The closest Heroic have come thus far on this T side, well, apart from the first 3 rounds, to winning around Hunter, though, being very aggressive. What a spray from Tesla's. m0NESY will, however, find him, and Hunter, he thought he was being sneaky, but the Hunter will be the hunted. Storm finds him, and once more, man advantage here for Heroic. They need to capitalize now, Vince.
They didn't pull the trigger last time, but that 1 has become 2. Courtesy of Shush's entry. m0NESY, though, holding the line, dropped down to 46 HP, and Alexi will be jumping on the side. No way he's got a kill from that. I thought Stown had that one covered. I'm actually transferred into a second. Sheer lunacy, but money could be coming up, and another round on top of it if m0NESY can strike. This AWP is still in the picture, and as he wiggles his way through the smoke, half the timer left. He does have a kit, couple flashes, but Cadian will nail him and make sure no second defuse is coming up on his watch.
They needed that round, Vince, and they do manage to make it happen. Finally, Heroic, a pulse, some signs of life. The problem here for the side of Heroic is the fact that G2 have built up such a bank, such a monstrous economy, that it's going to take a while more before they can break it right now. But they're doing what they could do. The previous round, it came down to the 1v1, right? Alexi B, the only one surviving. This round, everyone falls. So G2, they should be able to have the 2-round lead, you know, in a couple of rounds. You can just